Hello, everybody. Welcome to Celebrate Southern Africa. My name is Dawn Denton, and today my guest has just come out of load shedding, so it's perfect timing. From southern suburbs of Johannesburg in Alberton is Desirae Pillay. And I connected with Desirae years and years ago. Somehow, I don't even know how, but we finally got to chat. And I am so thrilled because one of the things that jumped out for me, Desirae, when I saw all the stuff that you were doing, is that the universe has thrown quite a lot at you. And somehow you have made something so wonderful and inspirational out of all your experiences. So welcome. It's so lovely to chat.
Thank you so much, Dawn. I am thrilled to be with you and excited to have this conversation.
So I think the first thing that I noticed is that you have been blogging, and I'll kind of wonder what makes somebody want to share, because a lot of stuff that's happened to you, you've shared, whether it's been on podcasts or on a blog in the past. But what makes you want to put pen to paper, so to speak, and start blogging?
Particularly because I think so many people I was working with felt alone. And I remembered feeling so alone as a young mom. I was a mom to a daughter with CP when I was 18 years old. It was a teenage pregnancy, and there were lots of social issues around that and family issues. And then dealing with her diagnosis as well. Oh, I'm not sure why this video is doing this.
That's okay. I think we're back to normal again.
And then dealing with her diagnosis as a parent in just South Africa was just emerging out of apartheid. So like 96, 97, the whole social system was different. And I felt very alone. And I just started blogging and I realized in my work, like that many people were still feeling isolated and alone and afraid to say certain things about their experiences. And I wrote so that I could give a voice to those people, and also in some ways to free myself from that time.
I was going to ask about the cathartic process of blogging. It also does help you, I think, put things into perspective, doesn't it, sometimes?
Absolutely. You have to really think about what you're going to put out there, right? Because it can be interpreted either way. And also, it does make you brave, because once you put it out there, you do not have control of what happens. And that's also okay. The people that need it will find it. And to me, that was where I just found a way of accepting who I was more in the world through that experience.
It's wonderful. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And what I love is the positivity with which you tackle topics. I mean, your blog's name in itself. Tell me how you came up with the name for your blog.
A Million Beautiful Pieces. Yes. I've been really my whole life, there's so much to tell, people always say to me, you must write your book. And I always thought, which story do you want? The story of the mother, of the child with a disability, the teenage pregnancy, growing up in domestic violence, sexual abuse, or which story? There's just so much. And then I've done so much of work in the disability sector as well. And there's a whole lot of stuff in there. And that's how I thought about A Million Beautiful Pieces, because I didn't know how I was going to condense all of that. So I just thought, well, for now, it's nice to get it out there in the beautiful way that I've come to appreciate all those stories. I really do appreciate everything I've been through. I know that sounds hard to hear, but I do, because I think it's really connected me with people in a way that I wouldn't have connected otherwise.
I think the universe chooses angels like you for the work that you do because of the circumstances that you've been through. And I think there's something incredibly special, not only about the fact that you've grown out of those experiences, because there's some people who will just throw their hands in the air and say, bury their head in the sand. This is not going to, I'm not going to deal with this. Yes. But your journey started with a teenage pregnancy. And I think about what I was doing at 18. And it must have thrown you. Do you think that you were already a strong person, or do you think it was that gave you your strength?
I think already I'd been through a couple things already as a child. I understood that women were not safe in the world. I was not safe in my own family. So I understood that already. And I had I was not in a happy home. So when I had my daughter, I remember at 18 delivering her in this hospital. And there were three things that came to mind. One was that I thought I wanted to go to church. I don't know why I had that thought. I don't know where it came from. The second one was I will go to war for her. And I didn't even know a diagnosis at this point. The third one was I was shocked at that I wasn't happy when I looked over at her biological father. I just thought, why did I let you father my child? It was just a weird thing. And it was a moment that started being an awakening for me, because I didn't want her to live the life that I lived. I didn't know that she would open me up to a whole different world. But I think, like for me, I do believe in God, and I think I just had a real divine moment in having her at 18. I think in many ways, God showed me who I was and who I could be. And having a child at 18 in those circumstances, nobody told me that I could be a successful mother. I think everybody wrote me off as I'm going to be the girl that's going to have babies with many different people, and treated me as such. And in that moment, I just knew that I was going to be more than that. And for her, definitely for her. So yeah, I think life had prepared me. There's a saying that girls who have been abused know all things are possible, meaning both good and bad. And they know that anything can happen. It can go either way. And I think that's kind of how I've lived my life in so many ways, which has, in the later part, has worked for me in a good way.
Wow, that's incredible. Did you have much support with a child as a single mom when you were that young?
Support at that stage was relative to who was in front of you. So like my parents tried to support me the best they could. But the conversation about disability back then was really as a shameful thing. It was more like to keep it a secret, and people didn't really want to talk about it. So it was very difficult to talk about it within my social context. I did find when my daughter went to school, and this is where like the social context came into play. She went to a school in Craighall Park, and I was living in Lenasia South. And so in that school, we were not integrated as a society. So when she went to the school, there were people of different races with children in that school. And the issue of race was not important when all of us had children who had disabilities. It just changed. And I felt most supported in that group. And I felt accepted and loved. And I just learned so much from the other parents, from the educators. So I think that's where a lot of my support came from. My mom has been a real strong force in my life throughout. She's been very supportive. But as I've grown, I've also learned that support is really hard when people don't know what to do. So I appreciate all the support I've had, but now I'm in a position to give support in a way that is meets people where they're at. And I don't always get it right, but I also think I just know a little bit more.
I kind of wonder if the difficulty is that a lot of people don't offer support because they don't know how, they don't know what they can offer, and they also don't want you to think that they think that you're not coping. So what would be advice that you would give somebody who said, oh, I don't know how to approach that friend or family member offering my support?
I think it's relationship, because it's true, we're all very different, and some parents don't want that to be the topic of conversation, while other parents are desperately needing somebody to reach out because they're struggling. So it's, for me, it's all about relationship. Everything I do in life is really about relationship, and just gauging where a person's at and how can I be of help to them in a way that doesn't undermine them, but also that they feel loved and cared for. And many people just need to just feel that they just want to be seen, known, and loved for exactly where they're at. So I kind of work off that premise. And I always say, parents do ask me, like, I've seen so-and-so and I don't know how to approach them. And I always say, you know, ask them how they are. You don't have to talk about their child. You'd say that to somebody else, you know, hi, how are you? I'm from Alberton. Are you in this queue long?
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Yeah. No, it isn't. And I think we maybe just overthink things. But
Yes.
how did, so what was the diagnosis that you got for your daughter? And was it really soon after she was born, or did it take a while?
When she was 6 months old, she was diagnosed as cerebral palsy. So that is a damage to the brain, and then obviously resulted in some delays, some global delays. And when she was 8, she was diagnosed with autism. So yeah, you know, diagnosis in the country back then was very hard to get, very hard to find the right doctors and the right specialists. We've come a long, long way since then. So and information was hard to come by. You know, you were given the diagnosis and the doctor basically would say your life is over, put your child in a home and get on with your life. And that's exactly what I was told. And I was 18 years and 6 months or something, 6 months old when she was diagnosed. It was crazy. Yes.
What has she taught you?
Oh, wow. Just yesterday, I was actually thinking about that. She's firstly taught me to have a lot of fun. She's got the most amazing sense of humor. Her name is Savannah, and she's got an incredible, incredible sense of humor. She has made me a better mom. And I think my younger 2 children, I've since remarried my husband, Michael, and we have 2 other children, Talisa and Eli, and Michael's adopted Savannah. And Savannah's taught me, yeah, she's just made me a better mom. She's helped me to not be afraid of making mistakes. I often say I'm sorry to my kids. And I knew that before all the parenting books were out, so I will credit Savannah with that. And she's taught me to fight. She's taught me to fight and to know when to sit down and be quiet.
I love that, because a lot of people never learn that lesson.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And what do you think has she shaped you, or do you think you have shaped your journey? Oh, look at you shaking on my screen.
Yes, I don't know why it's doing that.
That's hilarious. It's fun.
It's gonna be so funny. I have meetings like this, and this happened to somebody else the other day, and we couldn't fix it. So
oh well, there you go.
That's okay. I've got the shakes. I'll just be Taylor Swift.
We'll just do our own GIF. You know, like you just have your own GIF. We've got a
yes.
GIF. It's fantastic.
Yes.
So do you think that she has shaped your journey because of who she is?
You know, I often say it's easy when you have a child who is different, for parents to say that their life's calling is their child, and because their child is given them purpose and that kind of thing. And I think that's true to an extent. That's true, but for me, it's true of all of my children, not just her. And yes, she's definitely opened my world up to a whole conversation and a whole part of my heart that I would not have known before. But even, you know, I do work on inclusion, and one of the things I share with parents from my perspective in how God has shown me this is that we are just 2 girls working out our life's journey before the cross. That's it. And we just so happen to be in a relationship as mother and daughter. And when I say it like that, then it takes the pressure off that I need to get her to a certain point. And it also changes the conversation that she is adding as much to my life as I'm adding to hers. I don't think it's fair to her to always be seen as the person on the receiving end of what I'm doing. because I receive a lot from Savannah. Savannah is honestly the only person that takes me to the end of myself. And I can say this with her permission. I say this to her. She drives me to the end of myself, and then she puts me back together again. So,
like Humpty Dumpty.
Yes, exactly.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like community is what's driven and given you the strength. So the community in your family community, your church community, and the work that you do outside of the home, as well as the community where Savannah went to school. Why do you think that in the world that we live in, we're not driven by community as we have always been in the past?
I think, in the last couple of years, I don't know however long, but isn't the messaging so much about self, take care of yourself. I think it's really good to be independent. But I heard something, I was listening to a rabbi speak when it was the January 6th whole thing in the US. And he said that there was a Jewish philosophy of you look after yourself well. So you educate yourself and you become independent to look after yourself well, so that you can turn around and take care of those people in your community that cannot take care of themselves. And I just thought that's exactly it. It's not about being independent so that I don't have to be bothered by other people's stuff. It's about being independent and being able to work hard and do well and love life and enjoy life, so that you can give that to someone else. So for me, that's where I think we've missed it.
Yeah, we are focusing a lot on self at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it's important. I do. It is important to have your boundaries, be clear about what you want and your direction in life. But as you say, that's a really good point. It seems to have overtaken the desire to bring people together, because it almost becomes, I'm more important now than the community.
Yes, exactly. And I don't know if you've sensed this. I mean, it's great we're talking about mental health, but that's always been an issue. And as the world has become more polarized and we've put so much emphasis on individual success, people have become more isolated from each other and competing more with each other. And hence we have this catastrophic, problem at the moment. The community is hard, but there's also safety in numbers. So, I don't know how we'll get back there.
I think human beings will be driven by what is the core of who we are.
Yes.
And I think most of these are phases that we will kind of come out the other side with the core of human beings. And the core of human beings is community, the collective, faith, all of those things that make us stronger as an individual, because we can't exist on our own. And I know, and we know that, but for some other reason, we keep pulling ourselves away from the collective. And I find that a very interesting kind of journey that I think the human race is on.
Yes. Yeah. Aren't we afraid to be authentic? Hey, like with each other, we're afraid to be ourselves, and we need to think about what we need to do. I'm loving this move on social media now, where people are like, I'm just going to do a video exactly as I am. Like 3 years ago, it wasn't like that. Well, pre-COVID, it wasn't like that. And now suddenly we're like, oh, I can just, talk while I'm walking. And so I think maybe in small doses, we're getting there.
Let's hope. Fingers crossed. Let's hope. So tell me about the roles that you have outside of the home, because you have a job where you help people with disability, but you also very involved in other communities. So tell me about those communities.
Yes. So I work, firstly, I have two jobs that help me do the unpaid. I have two paying jobs that help me do the unpaid work. So let me put it like that. So I work at a baby home, a home for abandoned children, for 2 days. And that's where I help put together all the information about the challenges that some of the children have in that home, and make it into bite-sized chunks for their caregivers, because their caregivers don't have all the background understanding that I have. And they have a lot of input from specialists. And it's really hard for them to understand why a certain child needs a certain type of intervention or certain type of care. So I help make that into bite-sized chunks. And with that, there's a level of mentorship, because I've been a caregiver to Savannah for 27 years. I don't get up every day with joy to bath her. It's not exciting to have to hear the same thing over and over sometimes. So that experience helps me to come alongside them. And when they're really struggling with a child or even in their personal lives, I'm able to walk through that with them, and sometimes even connect them to other resources and help, but to really let them know that you can. And not because I've done it for 27 years, but just having somebody that they can say the hard things to, things that they might feel embarrassed to say to somebody else. I can take it because I've thought it or felt it at some point. And then at times I connect them to professional help if it's what's relevant and what we can set up. Then the other paying job I have is with a company that provides technology for people who are non-speaking or non-verbal, so assistive technology. And there I'm an assistive tech advisor. So helping people, for example, who may have cerebral palsy and can't move and can't write and can't speak. So then they could use things like eye pointing, or using a computer that they can control with their eyes, and then a special software that can speak for them, so they can choose words that can speak out loud. So it goes from very basic paper-based to very complex technology. So that's the 2 paid jobs. Then I serve at my church, where we are working on inclusion, helping parents to feel safe in the church, helping the children to feel safe, training the volunteers, because not everybody, you can read about disability, but how to actually be in that situation is hard for some people, or how to plan a lesson. So I'm kind of like, I fill the gaps wherever they're struggling, and that's great joy for me. The other one is then Parent Reality, which is a parent support network. And we run support groups for parents, in person and online, and information events. And that's very special. That's really very close to my heart, because that's where we do a lot of this kind of talking. And I really do believe that if we can meet the parents where they're at and help them be okay mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we can definitely change the course of their children's lives, because all the focus in disability is placed on the person with the disability, but it's actually the other people that carry a load that they don't get support for. Yeah. So I do Parent Reality, and we do all these events. And then we've now just partnered with Panda. Panda is a mental health app here in South Africa. And we are going to have online sessions. So it's audio sessions, so people can be anonymous, and we're going to provide that support also. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, I now have 5 altogether. I think I've covered them. I feel like I'm missing one, but
oh, I'm sure it'll pop up.
Yes.
I was going to ask you about the support that is available in South Africa, because we know that with the internet opening up, like you were saying, you just didn't have the information all those years ago. You were kind of just, the doctor just said, this is it. And now you have access to more information. But what is available for people in South Africa?
So, we have a great network of medical options in our government hospitals and in our private hospitals. So that we have all of that available. The challenges we have is that many of our people are really on the poverty line. And so, when you are hungry, your hunger is more important, not more important, it's really more the driving force than getting to a doctor's appointment. It's really, really challenging for a lot of our people to get there. So so while we have all of that, access to those places is a problem. But then we also have, in recent years, we've had more and more organizations come up. So we've got Autism South Africa, we've got rare diseases, we've got Down syndrome. Almost every single disability or diagnosis does have a support organization. And that's really cool, because that's really important. That's a good starting point for many parents. They'll Google and find that place, and then in that group be referred to doctors or their nearest clinic. So that, yeah, there is a lot of that.
Oh, well, that's a relief to know, because I know that, resources aren't always available. And I understand that even if you are connected to these organizations, there might not be money or funding to help everybody,
Yes.
but there's a support network. And that's what's
Yes.
important as well.
Yes, exactly. And I think we are getting to a point where we realize the need for diversity in that too. Because obviously, if somebody who's English speaking starts an organization in their suburb, the demographic that's part of that is usually the people that are English speaking from the suburb. And now people are becoming more confident, and that's what I really am passionate about, to have support networks that are integral to their culture and where they live and their community. I was in Pretoria North yesterday in a place called Mamelodi. And Mamelodi is a township area, community area. And I heard that there's an organization there for autism, for that community specifically. And I was like, yeah, that's what we want, So that to me is what's encouraging.
Absolutely. Now, you talk about confidence, and a lot of people have a really powerful message to share, but they don't have the confidence to stand on a stage, and you do. So do you think that is the driving force is that the message is so strong and that has given you confidence? Or do you think it takes something else that you have to dig quite deep to stand on a stage and share?
I think for me, I've never moved very far away from remembering how lonely I felt in my life. At so many different points, and I will share this. I just want to say it's a warning. It is about my suicidal experiences. Is that okay that I share that?
Absolutely, please go ahead.
I felt I acted on it. I wasn't just feeling suicidal. I actually did try to take my life in my matric year. And through my life, I've realized so often how many of us are dying, and not maybe physically going to act on it, but are dying. And we're sitting in places and we're looking perfectly put together, and we're driving the right car and we're doing all the right things, and we're dying. And so that's when I stand up to speak. I stand up to speak for those women, particularly those women and girls. And I'm not afraid. I am not afraid, because I just think every woman is valuable, every girl is valuable, and it doesn't matter where you came from. You are okay, actually. The world keeps, it's one of the epiphanies I had last year, where somebody asked me, what do I wish that I knew then that I know now? And it was that I was always okay. I didn't need to be other. I didn't need to tick anybody's boxes. So for me, that's the reason I stand up and speak.
That's fantastic. So what kinds of things do you speak about when you're invited? Is it a specific organization that will ask you to come in, or do they say, come in and speak because we just want to hear from you, Desirae?
Mostly they'll specifically tell me, speak on this, speak on that, because as you can hear, there's just too many topics. So I'm like, please be quite specific so I don't drift off. But mostly it is disability. So parenting a child with a disability, and particularly because my focus or the way I look at it is that Savannah's another woman. So she is my child, but she is another woman, and there's a respect there that I have to maintain. And even though she isn't able to do that in the same way, that doesn't mean I get to be God to her or bully her or anything like that. So yes, definitely parenting. Teen, I get asked to speak to teen girls quite a lot, and obviously for teenage pregnancy, relationships, why we choose what we choose when we are teenagers, and the parent-child relationship in those situations. And then women in trauma, and that's a big passion. So that's the other thing I do. I run a Bible study for women in trauma. And trauma does not need to be something that was life altering. It can be just having to do something or live a life that you get to a point where you realize it's not the life I want, you know. So it's a safe space, and yeah, and that's where those are the things I speak about.
Well, you are really a remarkable lady, and you are making a big difference in the world and in the world of your family, your communities. And how can people get hold of you if they do want to find out more about the work that you do, the communities that you support, and just in general, maybe your blog and everything else that you do?
Yes, so I'm going to say I would love to blog every week, but I also have given myself grace that I'll blog at the right time when I can write something great because I'm busy. But yes, you can contact me on the blog. It's A Million Beautiful Pieces by Desirae Pillay. Otherwise, you can email me, desirae@amillionbeautifulpieces.co.za. So yeah, those are the two easiest ways. And also I'm on Instagram, Pillay Desirae.
Oh, fantastic. We love Instagram.
Yes.
So
I'm going to have to learn from you, Dawn. I started following your social media stuff because I'm so not good at this.
Oh, I just learn as I go along. I just scramble as I go. It's just one of those things. And it's funny because people say to me, oh, you're everywhere. And I'm like, I'm not really. I actually don't spend that much time on social media. It just looks like it. You know what I mean?
You're very good at it. You make it look effortless. So that's amazing.
Oh, well, that's the story of my life. I just try to make things really simple and easy. I don't like the long way around. So,
I'm going to high five you there.
Yeah. What are your plans for the future, and what are your dreams for the work that you do?
So my dream is that I would be in a space where I could have a support center with probably parent reality, because that's where we're working really hard to do that, so that parents can come in. Oh, there I'm doing my Taylor Swift shake it off thing again. Okay, cool. I'm shaking it off. Yeah, so a place where parents can walk in as soon as their child has been diagnosed, or if they're going through a rough time, and can have the help they need. And the help could just be a cup of coffee and somebody holding their hand, and that they can just say what they need to say. And that I will never venture far away from helping women and girls, irrespective of what their issues are. So my daughter has a joke that when I'm old and I'm in an old age home, I'll be running the bingo club. I'll be having the women's get together at my house, and I'll be arranging the ladies to go and volunteer at wherever. So
Nothing will change. You'll just slip into the new role with ease.
yes, I think so.
Oh, Desirae, it's been such a joy to chat to you. And I really am incredibly inspired by the work you do and the way you tackle life. You just go head first, you just get on with it, and you are an inspiration to so many other people. And I know people who listen and watch this will be really inspired too, because it's I wonder if human nature is cut out for everything that you've dealt with, because some people have only dealt with a slither of what you've dealt with and they've struggled, and you seem to have blossomed and come out the other side with the most incredible stories and opportunity for others to learn from you. So thank you so much for sharing all of that, and I do look forward to chatting to you again.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you to your listeners. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity. So yes, hopefully we will chat again.
Thank you so much.